Believe it or not, Vanguard is one of my most requested topics. I think part of it has to do with the fact that I tout it as my favorite current gen card game. I'd love to get into doing set reviews for it, but the problem is, it's really difficult to just jump in and start doing set reviews now because I'm so far out of the meta. So I came up with a pretty fun little idea about going back, doing some retro set reviews, and then catching myself up to the newer sets. Here's the thing, guys, believe it or not, this video was really difficult to make. This took me like 3 times longer than it takes me to make a Weiss Schwarz video. So this isn't going to be like MLP where I just kind of continuously make videos and hope that something sticks. If you guys actively want to see more Vanguard content, then you have to leave this video a like, and somebody has to remind me to check on it every once in a while. I'll give you guys the same deal that I give my Weiss Schwarz players. If you like this video, leave it a like. If this hits 100 likes and somebody reminds me, then I'll do a second video. So the thing that makes Vanguard so difficult is it's a very technical game, which is also why I really like it. A term coined magic numbers takes up a lot of the Vanguard meta. The magic numbers in Vanguards are the exact power that every Vanguard is, and then every multiple of 5,000 afterwards. Every 5,000 you hit is another 5,000's worth of shield your opponent needs in order to block, and because there's nothing in between, it's just multiples of 5,000. The highest you can really hope to get in this first set is to get 10,000 over the highest base Vanguard, which is currently 11,000. So it's going to be 21,000 are the numbers we want to be hitting because that forces 15,000 worth of shield out of our opponent's hand. So one of the main elements we'll be looking for when looking at these cards is how high of a shield they are capable of calling out of every current level of Vanguard in the first set. Sometimes I'll take a look at cards for their effects, but for the most part it's going to be about whether or not they can hit the high numbers, especially that coveted 21,000. I'll look at 5 cards at each grade, starting at grade 3 and go down. We're going to start with Embodiment of Victory Aleph, because in my personal opinion, of the cards I saw, he was probably one of the deadliest. Right off the bat, he has a counterblast that lets him hit that coveted 15k shield off of all types of Vanguards. Admittedly, at 4 counterblast, it was pretty costly, but at this stage in the game, I actually think this was still pretty good. Especially because if you're doing his full ride chain, you can actually use an effect that flips all of your cards in your damage zone face up so you can do it a second time. On top of all of that, our guy gets an extra critical when he uses this effect. So 15k shield, 2 critical on attack, it's just too much to handle. Next up is CEO Amaterasu, who is Oracle Think Tank, which is my favorite clan. Ami really brought it in the first set. With her and Weathergirl, you are capable of a 24k column. Her effect of 4 more cards in the hand is surprisingly easy to keep up, and it just gets better from there. She has a soul charge effect that lets you look at the top card of your deck and decide whether you want to keep it on top or bottom. And if you happen to get 8 cards in the soul, then she can counterblast to draw 5 cards, and that is quite a lot of shields. One final thing to note, she actually hits a magic number we weren't even aiming for, which is 24k. That calls out 20k shield against a 9k Vanguard, which surprisingly existed back then. Next up we have the Solitary Knight Gancelot. Gancelot can actually hold a 22k column, but 22 is not a magic number. At Counterblast 2, you should be pulling this effect off at least twice a game, and it also gets the +1 critical just like the first card did. However, back when I was talking about 9k Vanguards, this is it! Another cool thing Gancelot can do is he can return to your deck to search your deck for a Blaster Blade to put in your hand in case you don't have one to ride. You really want to ride Blaster Blade, so this is a pretty nice way to keep up some consistency. The Spike Brothers got Juggernaut Maximum, who is capable of 24k just like our CEO Amaterasu was. This card's pretty interesting. It's an 11k base Vanguard, so it was technically one of the strongest Vanguards you could have at the time. It raised the magic numbers up past 15,000 and 20,000, so that kinda mattered. The really interesting thing though is it's capable of its 24k on the rear guard. So if you already rode one of these as your Vanguard, having them on the rear guard is pretty darn good too. It does shuffle itself back into the deck afterwards, but I'd still think that's a pretty low cost. The last thing we'll look at is Death Rex, and this thing is pretty cool. If it's your Vanguard, it gets 5k on the attack, bringing it up to a possible 23k. 23 is 1,000 off from being a magic number, but it still hits that 21k that we need. After its attack resolves, you do have to sacrifice one of your rear guards, but, you know, you can always play new rear guards. Kicking off our grade 2s is Blaster Blade, the Dark Magician of Vanguard, if you will. Numbers wise, he just barely ekes out that magic number against 9k Vanguards and hits that 15k. He also comes with an ability that lets you get rid of one of your opponent's rear guards by counterblasting 2. The only real difference is if he's your rear guard, then you can only choose a grade 2 or lower. So basically, in terms of usability, there is no difference. Next up is Battle Sister Mocha, who, holy cow, can hit that 21k column. If you have 4 more cards in your hand, then this is an 11k attacker, which is pretty darn good. It's also important to note that she gets this effect whether she's your Vanguard or your rear guard. But she only hits the 21k if she's your Vanguard and being boosted by Milk. Brutal Jack is capable of that 24k at grade 2, which isn't bad at all. The one and only stipulation is you have to counterblast one when you attack with him, which, boo-hoo guys, he's a grade 2, you're probably only going to be attacking with him once if he's your Vanguard. Sure, it can get a little costly if you keep him as a rear guard, but as a Vanguard that's not too bad. Plus, he's an 11k Vanguard at grade 2 on your opponent's turn. If High Speed Brocky is a rear guard, you can Soul Blast 1 to give him plus 5,000, making him a 14,000 for the turn and capable of a 22k column. It does return himself to the deck like the other Spike Brother did, but it's still pretty worth it. Last grade 2 we'll look at is Libra. She is capable of a 19k row if she's your Vanguard and you have Milk behind you. Her effect is kinda special, I guess. If you manage to land a hit, then you can counterblast 2 to draw a card. Not always useful, but better than nothing. Starting here, we'll stop looking at the counter, because it doesn't really matter anymore. So Coco isn't anything too special, but when she comes into play, you can look at the top card of your deck and either put it back on top or on the bottom. Pretty basic deck cycling, really useful if you're about to draw a card. Queen of Heart is special because she takes the grade 2 vanilla 10,000 in Nova Grappler and makes it a potential 20,000 as a side column. If you're fighting a 10k Vanguard, then you have a side column that's calling out 15k worth of shield on attack. Now that's not bad at all. If Weather Girl Milk is boosting your Vanguard and it happens to be Oracle Think Tank, and you also happen to have 4 more cards in your hand, then it gives 10,000 boost. This 10k boost makes it so it doesn't really matter what your ride chain looks like. At every level, it's going to be something that can deal some damage. If you use Dreadmaster to boost a Nubatama character, and you have less cards in your hand than your opponent, then you can Soul Blast 1 to make your opponent get rid of a card. Since every card in Vanguard can kind of be thought of as a 5k shield, this gets rid of an extra shield in your opponent's hand. Possibly something even better. Last up is Karma Bee. Whether it's played as a Vanguard or a rearguard, it has the effect that you can counterblast 2 to make it so one of your opponent's rearguards cannot stand. This isn't super great, but if you play it on grade 2 or 3, then you can stop your opponent from attacking for a turn, and that can potentially be life-saving. Okay, home stretch guys, grade 0, here we go. Barkle can rest himself to search your deck for Lou or Flogel. The important thing here though is that it doesn't really say that it gets rid of itself, so you can just kind of get a new unit every turn if you want to. That sounds really busted. I wonder if people still do this. Speaking of Lou, this is where it all kind of comes together. You can take a Lou, a Barkle, and a Flogel from your rear guards, put them in the soul, and counterblast 1, and if you have a grade 1 Vanguard, then you can search your deck for a Blaster Blade and ride it, which is really nice. This actually made it possible to play a grade 3 Vanguard before your opponent had a chance. Lozenge is neato. She pretty much boosts for 6,000 the one time you get to boost with her, and then shuffles herself back into the deck. You want your heal triggers in your deck, so this is a very good effect. Battle Razor is pretty much the exact same thing, but it's a stand trigger instead. Makes it not quite as good, but if you're running a Nova Grappler deck, you might as well run this card. And finally we have Hagakure the Stealth Beast. So when it's used as a shield, and it's 10,000 shield by the way, you can counterblast 1 if you have less cards in your hand than your opponent to make them discard a card. It's not much of a boost, but every card you can get rid of helps. With 4 of these in your deck, it's a potential 40k shield and your opponent getting rid of 4 cards in their hand. And that's pretty much it for the set review, guys. Let me know if you played during this metagame and there's any changes you would make to the list in the comment section below. I'm honestly really sad I missed out on this game when it first came out, because I actually think this would have been an enjoyable meta to play in. While I think I can narrow it down to 3 decks that probably did very well back then, it seems like the 3 decks were relatively balanced and it came down to a lot of luck and fun. But anyways guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. Those things really do help us out. If I see 100 likes on this video and somebody reminds me, then I'll do the second set as well. And if you have any thoughts on the set or what I should do next, leave it in the comment section below. And finally, subscribe to stay up to date on the latest Kudou news. Catch you later.